I've always been the type to soldier on regardless. Good afternoon. In today's Focus, we'll show you all the Premiership goals you may have missed over the festive period. Christmas has been kind to some, cruel to others. Newcastle's stocking remains empty as Gallagher finds an oasis for Blackburn. And he may be small enough to fit into Santa's wellies, but Gianfranco Zola celebrated Christmas big style. Later on in the programme, Zola is one of the players in contention when I name my foreign Premiership team. And my guest, Garth Crooks, will pick his team, selected from the Premiership's British players. Some interesting choices in that one. But today's show is mainly about action and goals, and we start our look back at all the festive footy with last weekend's fixtures and a managerial debut for Stuart Pearce.
If ever a team's performance matched the image of its manager, then that was the case with Nottingham Forest last weekend. 2 days on from Frank Clark's honourable resignation, Stuart Pearce was in caretaker charge for the first time, and the City ground was abuzz.
Ian Wright inside the 6-yard box. That was Kevin Campbell defending. Back to Winterburn. Crossley comes. Oh, he's dropped it! Ian Wright! A howler by Mark Crossley, and you can't legislate for mistakes like that. Yes! Haaland! 1-1.
Forest's cause was helped by the dismissal of Ian Wright. As Arsenal prepared to take a free kick, Wright jogged forward innocuously enough, but then appeared to make contact with the Forest defender Yurkan. Acting on the advice of one of his assistants, referee Stephen Lodge sent Wright off. Arsenal have asked the official to reconsider.
Stuart Pearce. Ian Wone. Pearce. Campbell. Here's Haaland. Yes! Haaland gets his second.
At Old Trafford, the enfant terrible of English football was at his imperious best. After a modest season so far by his standards, he's ending 1996 with a flourish. Sunderland on the receiving end.
Giggs. Away from Hall. And there's Scholes! Good save! Good save! 1-0. Giggs. Ord. Ball giving it to Scholes. And here's Cross. Round the keeper. Down he goes, it's a penalty. And that is Cantona's first Premiership goal in more than 3 months. And Schmeichel's throw could put Solskjaer in. Kubicki's missed the challenge, and Solskjaer is all on his own. Isn't that a cool finish? Giggs to take the corner. 5 red shirts to aim for. Butt! Yes! Nicky Butt with goal number 4.
But West Ham, to their credit, always tried to make a game of it, and when another dashing import, Hugo Porfirio, pulled a goal back, there was some light at the end of the tunnel. But Chelsea secured the points by half-time. Dan Petrescu, the provider, Mark Hughes rising higher than any Hammers defender. Chelsea back on track.
David Pleat enjoyed his return to White Hart Lane. The Sheffield Wednesday manager hasn't had to explain away a defeat for 2.5 months. His side are obdurate and well-drilled, although he might wish for a few more goals. However, he couldn't complain about Ian Nolan's arrival. A rare goal for the fullback gave Wednesday the lead. The problem is that Nolan's celebration lacks practice. Tottenham's equaliser will have given encouragement to those hoping for great things from the new partnership of Sheringham and Everson. They set up the chance for a stretching Alan Nielsen to make it 1-1 in both goals and points.
The Derby County manager Jim Smith called this his side's worst performance of the season, yet it began well enough. Christian Daly galloping clear of the Saints' defence to put his team in front. but the flu-ridden Derby defence didn't hold out for much longer. Gordon Watson's first effort saved by Russell Holt. The rebound, a pre-Christmas gift, and Southampton were level. It was just the impetus the Saints needed. Robbie Slater setting off on a determined left-wing run. The cross matched his individual effort, and there was Matthew Oakley heading home. Jim Smith not best pleased with his keeper. In injury time, the Derby defence managed a pretty clear-cut sandwich on David Hughes. No real arguments about the penalty. Jim Magilton's spot kick somewhat unconvincing, but Graham Souness didn't care. It was 3 vital points.
There must be something Irish about a player who can't score frequently as a striker, yet can as a defender. There is. His name, Dublin. Dion of that ilk set Coventry on their way at Filbert Street with a header from McAllister's corner. And the same combination sealed a first away win from a second-half free kick. 4 goals in 20 games up front, 2 in an hour at the back. Perverse.
After 19 matches without defeat, only the crazy gang could have conspired to lose this one quite so spectacularly. Yet for half an hour, the Dons defended well enough. Villa were denied a Dwight York goal. Offside, said the officials. He looked anything but. The referee's assistant not on the Villa Park Christmas card list. Poetic justice, though, was swift. Sullivan cleared. Kenny Cunningham's back pass enough to send any manager reaching for the Valium. Dwight York accepted the neatly wrapped gift. Joe Kinnear's blood pressure then took another sharp jump. Chris Perry making a mess of the header. Dean Blackwell doing likewise on the tackle. Savo Milosevic accepted the second seasonal offering, and suddenly the Dons were in disarray. Villa were enjoying the party by now. The best move of the match saw Steve Staunton sending in a wicked cross. Milosevic's effort was saved. Ian Taylor headed home the rebound. And Villa Park duly celebrated. Just about everything was going Villa's way. Milosevic and Townsend combining, and the Serbian collecting his second goal via a fortunate deflection off Blackwell. Villa's biggest win of the season was duly rounded off when Sasha Churchick supplied the cross and Dwight York the finish. Villa elated, the Dons definitely deflated.
John Champion and Steve Lee describing the action there. Now, I've got some bad news for Arsenal fans. In the last hour, the FA have confirmed that Ian Wright's 3-match ban for his dismissal at Nottingham Forest will stand. Referee Stephen Lodge has decided not to reverse his decision after watching the incident again on video. Wright's ban begins with next Saturday's FA Cup tie against Sunderland. Now, Monday night, that was one of the season's biggest games to date. Leaders Liverpool went to St James's Park to play a Newcastle side without a league win since the beginning of November. Commentary comes from John Champion.
Liverpool to kick off, and in this first half they'll be attacking the Gallagher end, and this is Collymore straight from the kick-off. Fowler with a chance, and Peacock just got back in the nick of time. In fact, the flag is up on this near side, presumably for offside. Ginola to take the free kick. Ferdinand, Shearer, Newcastle have the advantage. Shearer poaching as so often. But it was a thumping header by Les Ferdinand that I think James actually tipped onto the bar. Ruddock. Collymore. Here's Fowler with a clear chance. Well, how often have we seen him score from there? McManaman. Bjornaby. McManaman calling for it, and McManaman getting it. 2 in the centre. Fowler. 1-1. And having missed from a similar distance, no question that time. His 19th goal of the season. Shearer. Between Thomas and Wright, and Ferdinand is onside. Bad looking at the referee's assistant, and a good save by David James to get Liverpool out of trouble. A little too far for Ferdinand. This is Albert. Blocked Watson, and off the line by Michael Thomas. Back in by Ferdinand, and this time James Cansey. Newcastle really need to win this game. On by Ferdinand, and this is Beardsley, struck it first time. And very close to scoring against his former club. He struck that so sweetly.
So Liverpool enjoyed their Christmas lunch with a 3-point lead at the top of the Premiership. But on Boxing Day, the visitors to Anfield were a bunch of party poopers from Leicester.
Leadership of the Premiership is becoming something of a hot potato these days. Liverpool, in front of the biggest Anfield crowd this season, are the latest side finding it too hot to handle. Leicester gave them quite a scare when Lennon's shot was blocked. The tireless Steve Claridge curled his effort inside the post. At last, Liverpool roused themselves from their seasonal doze. Their best move of the match presented Stan Collymore with a chance he dare not and didn't miss, but not a convincing display.
Another fruitless journey up the M1 for Arsenal. Defeat in Nottingham, followed by a blank in Sheffield against a well-organised Wednesday. Dennis Bergkamp drew most of the plaudits, but his cushioned layoff was squandered by David Platt. In the second half, when the Dutchman showed the striker's instinct to drop off his marker, the header only left a mark on the post. The chance to close on Liverpool deflected away.
Newcastle United's hangover has nothing to do with Christmas. They've had it for weeks. At Ewood Park, Alan Shearer was back on familiar ground, but it was Rovers who stole the show and the points. Bohedon's shot cleared off the line by Elliott, but Kevin Gallagher scrambling the ball home. Rovers upwardly mobile again, a point acknowledged by their caretaker manager.
You've got to keep winning and picking points up when you're down in the bottom three. The first time you don't win, you're back to square one. So we've had a good run, and there's a lot of commitment and a lot of spirit there in the players, and they're determined to get themselves out the bottom three and to safety as quick as they can.
Player-manager is no easy role at the best of times. When Manchester United are in harmony, it can be well-nigh impossible. At the City Ground, Stuart Pearce's defence was shredded by Ole Solskjaer and Eric Cantona to allow David Beckham to open the scoring. There was never any question that United might just stop at one. Down the left again they came. Ryan Giggs' cross reached Beckham, who passed on the invitation to Paul Scholes. The rebound reached Nicky Butt. 2-0. And that was only the warm-up. The second half was time for the party tricks. A pass with Beckham's signature, a contribution autographed by Cantona, a header by Solskjaer, his 5th goal in 6 games. It hasn't been a vintage season for the French philosopher, but the signs of revival are not to be ignored. Nor is the little Norwegian's predatory instinct. After that, they sent the Artful Dodger out to pick a pocket or two. Andy Cole had been a long time absent, but he hadn't forgotten how it's done. 9 goals in 2 games have jumped United up to 3rd.
Villa's Boxing Day was as flat as leftover champagne. They were undone by a clinical Italian job. First, Gianfranco Zola's deflected shot caught everyone out, particularly the stranded Mark Bosnich. Five minutes later, Bosnich went walkabout when he should have collected Nelson's back header. Zola nipped in, and egg was smeared on the Australian goalkeeper's face. But Villa not letting one defeat spoil their recent good patch.
I think the nature of the 2 goals knocked the stuffing out of us. First one's a deflection. Second one, I think we all felt Mark was going to deal with it fairly easily. And they came so quickly together that it really did deflate us. And we've had a lot of things go our way in recent weeks. So we were disappointed with the last 10 minutes, disappointed with the 2 goals, but the first 60 minutes I thought we were fairly even, in all fairness. They played well as an away team on the day, but we weren't far off getting it right again.
There was a bit of an old boys reunion at Elland Road, though the welcome back to Gordon Strachan and company looked distinctly cool when Ian Rush robbed Dion Dublin and Brian Dean struck home an early goal. At least this one wouldn't be 0-0 like Leeds' last 3. Maybe, though, they'd have preferred another stalemate to being savaged by an old mate. Gordon Strachan spent a lot of money on an unproven Darren Huckabee. Goals like that suggest he's not a bad judge. Then Leeds were caught smouldering over a corner they thought shouldn't have been given. Dion Dublin was concentrating. Defensive duties haven't diminished his scoring potential. Next, Huckabee had another run. He's strong and he's quick, too quick for Carlton Palmer. The last penalty Gary McAllister scored on this ground went past Peter Schmeichel. Nigel Martin fared no better. And that's how it stayed through a goalless second half. Though Noel Whelan missed some of it after this foul on Lee Bowyer. A penalty saved by Steve Ogrizovic kept the 2-goal margin.
The Southampton manager Graham Souness was scathing about his side's defensive display at White Hart Lane. "We were in a Christmas mood," he said. Certainly Spurs' first goal proved the point rather well. Steve Carr's cross sailing through the Saints' defence. Eventually Stefan Everson finished off a rather soft goal. Spurs capitalised on more Southampton generosity. When Sinton lobbed Besant, the ball landed again at the feet of Everson. He accepted his second gift. But Southampton gave their fans a glimmer of hope. Matthew Le Tissier's controlled finish exposed a few Tottenham defensive frailties. But Spurs' third was decisive. Alan Nielsen's powerful header from Carr's free kick made it game, set and match.
This wasn't a pretty game. Sunderland lost Kevin Ball for a month with a broken jaw. But they took the points, the second half corner, met by Richard Ord. That soothed the wound a little, and it was consolation for the man who was sent off when Derby won at the baseball ground in September. Then Craig Russell moved determinedly onto Phil Bracewell's pass and sent Derby on the way home contemplating a return of only 1 point from 4 games.
It's been a long time since Borough fans had much to smile about, but Boxing Day restored faith in their team. The Brazilians Juninho and Emerson helped create their first, dispatched with aplomb by Craig Hignett. But in true Borough fashion, good was followed inexplicably by bad. Derek White handling in the box. Closer examination makes him a candidate for volleyball, not football. David Unsworth swept in the penalty, and the Riverside Stadium wondered if it was to be the same old story. But Borough restored their lead from an unlikely source. Clayton Blackmore, back from a loan spell at Bristol City, curling in their second. Everton duly responded with a classic equaliser. Duncan Ferguson's towering header showing exactly why Middlesbrough leaked goals quite so alarmingly. The stage was set for the Riverside's favourite son to score his first league goal since early September. Juninho's first effort was blocked, but the little Brazilian followed it up and Teesside duly celebrated. Juninho was now finding the space he once enjoyed on the Brazilian backstreets, terrorising the Everton defenders. A neat 1-2 with Ravanelli, and Borough were home and dry. Defensively dodgy, but going forward, a joy to watch.
Steve Lee again there, this time with Gerald Sinstadt. It was nice to see Middlesbrough making an effort to get out there and play. And what's more, that win lifts them out of the bottom 3. Forest remain at the rear, 3 points adrift of Southampton and Blackburn. The 3 promoted clubs, Sunderland, Derby and Leicester, are still holding their own. At the top, Liverpool retain their 3-point lead over Arsenal. But look at Man United, they're now in 3rd and appear set for another charge at the Championship. Their main challengers last season, Newcastle, are now back in 6th place, 8 points behind Liverpool.